Karen's smug grin was wider than the pothole she'd refused to fix on Elm Street. She stood on my porch, waving a crisp HOA invoice for $5. $2.37 like it was a winning lottery ticket. "You're late, Tom," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, as if I were a child who'd forgotten his homework. I stared at the paper, my blood pressure spiking. Last month, my bill was $237. Now, without a single warning, Karen and her HOA cronies had tacked on $5,000 for community beautification. I'm a lineman for the county power company, not a millionaire. This wasn't just a bill, it was extortion. Karen, the HOA president, was the kind of person who'd fine you for a blade of grass out of place while her own lawn looked like a landfill. Her floral dresses screamed, "I'm in charge," and her attitude screamed, "I'm untouchable." She'd waddle through the subdivision, her clipboard a scepter, barking orders at neighbors too polite to push back. I wasn't polite. I'd spent 20 years climbing poles in storms to keep the lights on, and I wasn't about to let this petty tyrant bleed me dry. "Karen, what's this beautification nonsense?" I asked, holding the invoice like it was radioactive. She adjusted her glasses, her chins wobbling as she scoffed. "Landscaping upgrades. Tom, you voted for it at the last meeting." I hadn't been to a meeting in months, me shifts didn't allow it. She knew that. Her lie was as bold as the perfume cloud choking the air around her. "You can't just slap $5,000 on my bill without notice," I said, my voice low but sharp. She smirked. "Pay up, or we'll lien your house. Simple as that." I spent the next week digging. The HOA's beautification was a scam. Karen had hired her cousin's landscaping company unlicensed, overpriced, and barely competent. They'd planted a few wilted shrubs and called it $50. 000 worth of work, split across the neighborhood's bills. My neighbors, mostly retirees or overworked parents, were too scared or busy to fight back. Karen's reign of terror relied on their silence. But silence wasn't my style. I tried reasoning first. I called an emergency HOA meeting, dragging Karen and her lackeys to the community center. 50 neighbors showed up, clutching their own inflated bills. "Where's the proof of this work?" I demanded, holding up my invoice. Karen's face reddened, but she doubled down. "The board approved it," she snapped, waving a forged document with signatures none of us recognized. My neighbor, Mrs. Delgado, a sweet widow on a fixed income, trembled as she spoke. "I can't pay $4. 000. I'll lose my home." Karen just shrugged. Rules are rules. That shrug was the last straw. I'd seen Karen's type before, bullies who thrived on power, not principle. She wasn't just greedy. She was cruel. I wasn't going to pay, and I wasn't going to let her ruin Mrs. Delgado or anyone else. But I needed leverage. Something bigger than a petition or a lawyer we couldn't afford. That's when I remembered the substation. As a lineman, I had access to the county's power grid. The subdivision's electricity ran through a single substation, a hulking metal box tucked behind a chain-link fence. I'd spent years maintaining it, knowing every wire, every switch. Shutting it down for maintenance was within my authority, no questions asked. It was a nuclear option, but Karen had left me no choice. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd play dirtier. The plan was simple but ruthless. I filed a fake maintenance request, citing urgent repairs on the substation. At 6 p.m. on Friday, I flipped the master switch. The entire subdivision went dark. Streetlights flickered out. AC units groaned to a stop. Fridges stopped humming. Karen's McMansion, with its tacky fountain and Christmas lights in July, went black. I could almost hear her shriek from across the neighborhood. By Saturday morning, the complaints flooded in. My phone buzzed with texts from neighbors, confused but not yet angry. I played dumb, just routine maintenance. Folks, back on soon. Karen, predictably, was apoplectic. She cornered me outside my house, her face a blotchy shade of purple. You did this, Tom, she screamed, jabbing a manicured nail at me. Turn the power back on, or I'll sue you into oblivion. I leaned in, calm as a summer breeze. Pay back the $5. 000 you stole, and maybe I'll find the problem faster. She didn't back down. Neither did I. Day 2. The neighborhood started to crack. Kids whined about dead tablets. Food spoiled in warm fridges. The elderly sweltered without fans. I felt a pang of guilt. Me neighbors didn't deserve this. But Karen's scam had pushed them to the brink of foreclosure. And this was the only way to make her feel the heat. I started a whisper campaign. Slipping notes under doors. Karen's scam caused this. Demand a refund. By Sunday, the neighbors were done playing nice. A crowd gathered outside Karen's house, led by Mrs. Delgado, who'd found her courage. Give us our money back, they chanted. Karen stood on her porch, flustered, her usual swagger gone. This is Tom's fault, she yelled, pointing at me. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Mr. Chun, a quiet accountant, held up bank records he'd dug up, showing Karen's cousin's company had been paid twice for the same shoddy work. The evidence was undeniable. Karen's lies were unraveling. I kept the power off for one more day, just to drive the point home. By Monday morning, Karen caved. She called an emergency meeting, promising to refund every cent of the beautification fees. The crowd cheered, but I wasn't done. I handed her a USB drive with screenshots of her forged documents, bank transfers, and emails to her cousin. This goes to the county prosecutor unless you resign, I said. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. For a moment, I thought she'd fight, but she deflated like a punctured balloon. Fine, she spat. You win. That evening, I flipped the substation switch. The lights flickered back on, and the neighborhood exhaled. Mrs. Delgado hugged me, tears in her eyes. You saved us, Tom. I shrugged, feeling more tired than triumphant. Power was back, but so was the reality. I'd risked my job, my reputation, maybe even jail time. Was it worth it? Seeing Karen's moving truck a week later, I decided it was. Karen's reign was over, but the scars lingered. The HOA elected Mrs. Delgado as president, and she slashed the fees to bare minimums. We planted real flowers, not Karen's fake ones, and fixed that damn pothole ourselves. But every time I pass the substation, I feel a chill. Power's a funny thing, literal or not. It can burn you if you're not careful. Karen learned that the hard way. So did I.